This is Leisha Holmes of Key Recruitment, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my next guest. This is Saania Waqar, who is representing Baltic Apprenticeships. Hello to you today, Saania. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Leisha.
Really very welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled that you're on today because this is a subject I'm really, really passionate about. Because my pre-recruitment life, which we're going back over 22 years ago, I actually hired 2 apprentices myself and got them through MBQ level 2 and 3, which I was only in my early 20s myself. So it's something that I've always been really passionate about.
Yeah.
And I've invited you on today because I want us to talk about how this could potentially be a really fantastic strategy for our audience, which is recruitment leaders. So for those who aren't familiar with your business or what you actually do, can you give us an overview of why we're having this conversation today?
Yeah, of course, totally. So I work for a company called Baltic Apprenticeships, and we are specialists in tech and marketing apprenticeships all across the UK. Me personally, I work as Employer Engagement Manager for Manchester. So I look after the Manchester region, partner with companies very closely and help them bring in apprentices and educate them in what an apprentice is and how they may be useful to their company. Quite interesting with what you said about your kind of relationship with apprenticeships a few years back. I myself did an apprenticeship 7-8 years ago in business admin. So I've seen it from both sides, as a candidate and now, working with companies to bring in apprentices. So I've got first-hand experience of how valuable an apprentice can be. And for me, it kickstarted my career. So it's been amazing for me.
Yeah, perfect person to give the sort of testimonial of why companies should consider it. And of course, sandwiched in between the two is the fact that you've had a very successful recruitment career in tech.
Yeah, so I've done recruitment for 5 years across a variety of industries. So I started off being a generalist recruiter. So I did everything from kind of office recruitment to warehouse placements, the whole lot. And then more recently, I specialised in tech recruitment. So I started off working for a tech agency in Warrington, placing developers across all levels, from grads up to dev managers and C-suite level people. And then moved internally to work for a RPA company in Warrington as well, where I led all their tech recruitment for them, hand in hand with Baltic. And one thing I love about Baltic actually is people that we hire are people that have a genuine interest in tech. So we understand your company, we understand the market, and we know what you want for your company and what you need out of your apprentices.
And you're definitely somebody because you've literally done the whole 360, haven't you? You've got the whole there, and for someone who's you're clearly very passionate, and that's why I wanted to invite you on today, because I think it's something that the government have obviously got a lot of incentives out there. We'll talk about that as well. So talk to me and talk to the audience about if I was sat here listening now as an employer, why would I potentially consider employing an apprentice? What are the advantages?
How long have you got, Leash? There's quite a few. So I suppose the main one being you are literally growing your own talent bottom up. So, it's a great story to tell. You're showcasing how you develop your own staff. It's a great story to tell, and it's, a great thing to do for your own business. Second one is a lot of times that these apprentices join, they are people that have very limited experience in the world of work. Some people might see that as a negative, but the positive to that is you're in a position to really shape them in what you think is best practice, what you want for an apprentice in your company. It's a really cost-effective way to grow your team. So, if you're thinking, right, we need to grow our team, but we physically can't afford to pay X amount of recruitment fees or the salaries, well, this is a great way to do it. It's cost-effective. And when we hire apprentices anyway, we make sure they all have a minimum grade requirement. So, for example, if it was software development, they'd have to have a C in their GCSE maths. If it was marketing, the same for English.
Okay.
We make sure they have the foundation knowledge that they need, and then we train them on the rest. And there's government grants in place, as you've already mentioned, so that's a huge incentive for companies at the moment. You could be eligible for up to £3,000 for just hiring an apprentice, which shouldn't be your main reason for hiring an apprentice, but it's a great benefit. Yeah. And the last one I'd say, it's a great way to give back. You've got many people, especially in the climate we're in at the moment, who need work, are looking to reskill. You have people who have been put on furlough and have had a chance to sit down and think, actually, do I want to do something different? And this is a way to give back, help people that we know, you know, need that help and introduce them to the world of work.
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of sort of infographics where it is that sort of 16 to 24 your sort of demographic age group that is probably had the most impact in terms of future employment. So I think that's where, again, if we look ahead, that's where apprenticeship schemes are going to be the sort of lifeblood of the country once more, which I think they probably were maybe 50, 60 years ago, which is incredible how it kind of turns around. Well, I mean, those are really distinct advantages. And I'm sat here now as an employee thinking, well, you know, why on earth wouldn't you hire an apprentice in? And I know this isn't something that we've necessarily talked about off air yet, but I mean, given that, you know, we're heading into a second lockdown, there are still going to be some companies that aren't able to offer fully remote working. How has that impacted the apprenticeship schemes? Are people being able to work from home on these schemes? What's the support available?
Yeah, so the great thing about Baltic is that all of our training is done digitally, and pretty much always done it digitally. So we use something called classrooms, which is like an online classroom via Adobe Connect, which the apprentice will log on to and get all their training done online. Now, without blowing our own trumpets too much, we've done this forever. So when you've got some apprenticeship companies that are really trying to kind of, you know, we've already done it.
Right.
It's tested. We know what we're doing, and our clients love it. Absolutely love it. So back when the first lockdown was in place, you know, we could say to our clients, "Oh my God, don't worry, we can carry on as we did do before," and that. And actually, what we found as well is, you know, a lot of tech companies where you're hiring your software development apprentices, they're more comfortable sat in front of a laptop anyway.
Yeah, of course. This is their culture. That's what they do anyway. Yeah,
exactly. So they're more interactive, and it's all super interactive anyway. So from our perspective, it doesn't impact anything at all. And I have the same feedback from our clients. So a lot of our clients are still up and going, still recruiting apprentices with the, yes, there are going to be remote, and yes, we're going to have to put extra provisions in place to make sure that we're all touching base very often and that everyone's kept in the loop.
Yeah.
But we've done this before. You know, we did this last lockdown and we were successful, and we were confident in saying we'll do it again. So actually, it's not anything that's out of your mindset already. So I mean, we talked about from an employer's perspective, but what does the apprentice journey actually look like? How long is the commitment for? You know, what do they get from doing it, and then what's the guarantee at the end of it? Okay, so in terms of length of course and how long it'll kind of run for, it varies course to course. So most of our, if not all of our level 3 courses are 12-month long apprenticeships.
Yep.
And then a lot of our level 4s are actually 18 months apprenticeships.
Okay.
Now, one thing that we really pride ourselves on is our customer service, and whether that's, you know, for our customers or our candidates or our clients. So I'll talk you through kind of the process as a whole. So the journey starts with an apprentice actually applying for an apprenticeship. Now, that could be on Indeed, the National Apprenticeship Service website, our website, wherever basically the apprentice is looking for a job for. They'll then get a call from our recruitment team. So we've got a bunch of people, and their job is work with candidates and clients to make sure that it's a match. You know, work with candidates, understand their needs as well, and make sure it's all right. And the recruitment team will understand the background of the apprentice, you know, education, where that in that sense. You know, can they drive? How are they going to get to work? And explain the role, but also explain kind of what the world of work is like. Because like I said to you before, you know, we're talking about 16, 17-year-olds that perhaps have never ever worked before and don't understand what's entailed in working. How does it all work?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. I mean, I can say for myself, I might be outing myself here, but I remember when I first did my apprenticeship, I was shocked that some holidays were a thing. So it's things like that,
right,
that, you know, we make sure our apprentices understand.
Good.
Once we get to that point, if the role is right for the candidate, you know, and after we've explained everything to them, explained the company and the culture, we then pass the application and CV over to the employers. We'll then look at the candidate, you know, with faith that we've already vetted them. We can already confirm that we think they're right for the role, both culturally and in terms of what they've done in the past. And then we'll go on to the interview process. If the role for whatever reason isn't right, we don't just drop the candidate like that. You know, it is very much a case of, right, okay, you're working with us now. we will partner with you to make sure we find you something that is right.
Good.
And then we'll go out and find something right for the apprentice. So let's say we get to the interview point. Interview is completely kind of dictated by the client. So should the client say, right, we're going to do a 2-stage interview process. First is going to be telephone, second is going to be face-to-face. Great, we do that. And we just work with the candidate to help prepare them and so they understand what to expect. And in terms of the client as well, to make sure that their process is efficient as it can be.
Yep.
Sometimes with apprenticeships, clients will say, right, can we do a work trial? I love it when clients say that. That is brilliant, because not only is it great for the client because they get a chance to see, you know, is this the right kind of person for us, but also for the apprentice.
Totally agree.
Because they get to go in, you know, they get to commute and actually see, is this commute right for me? Yeah, sit in the office and actually, well, maybe not now, but previously, sit in the office and make sure the culture is right for them.
It's try before you buy, isn't it? Ironically, I've actually often recommended this to, I mean, obviously non-apprentices, because if there's any slight caution from either party, it just means that there's no risk of a rebate of somebody not wanting to take it. So I just think it's a very good opportunity for, like you said, these are young people that haven't necessarily been in an office environment before, or whatever the environment is. Just go and have a look, see what the commute's like, see what you think, you know.
And exactly, and it's all one thing, you know, our recruitment team say this is a great company to work for and all this and that. Yeah. And they'll say it if it's, you know, if it's true. Oh. But there's another thing, an apprentice going and feeling that themselves. You know, I can say from my own personal experience, and I would never, for example, accept a role until I've gone and sat in an office or, you know, spoken to my colleagues, because you get so much out of that. Yeah, we do a work trial, which works brilliantly. At that point, let's say everything's gone amazingly and they want to offer, brilliant. So at that point, our admissions team send out an induction slot. So yeah, they'll do that, and an account manager is assigned to our client to ensure that everything runs smoothly, both with our candidate and with the client as well, so that everyone's happy, everything's ticked away as we'd expect. At that point, our coordinators and arrange a training schedule. So right from the offset, you get a year's plan of exactly when your training is going to be, who's going to do it, what's going to be covered, and that is sent to both the company and the candidate. Good. If that needs to be amended, for example, someone's on annual leave, we'll amend it at that point. But it just needs to plan out a year, because I'm very aware, as you know, the business is very aware that these apprentices, yes, they're apprentices, but they are working for a company.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so
they fit into that business's strategy, budget. You know, they need to understand what the implications are, and actually, it takes away any sort of reservation about, is this apprentice going to take my time? Well,
exactly.
That's the one thing that has really come from listening to all of that. I think it's quite a good thing that you've done that, to ensure that both parties are fully aware of what the expectation is going to be on both sides.
I mean, and that's something that we're dead passionate about from the offset. Even from when I speak to a client right at the beginning of the process, you know, it's so transparent with, you know, how much time is this going to take? You know, how much hand-holding will you need to do? And all of this, because, you know, purely from a duty of care perspective, I would hate for an apprentice to get into a company, go through half the process and it not work out because we've been very clear about something.
Absolutely, because they're just going to feel left high and dry, aren't they? I think that's very reassuring to anybody that's listening to this, that those, I think, are the two potential stumbling blocks of why someone might think this isn't going to be the right route for me. So if I was sat listening now thinking, right, this is definitely something that I should consider, what would your top tips be for anyone that is about to start an apprentice in their business?
Talk to me.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, pick up the phone and speak to me. Like, I think a lot of times people say, oh, you know, we could hire an apprentice, we like thoughts of it, the idea of it, but you know, don't know how it really works. And a lot of the time, that is all it is. People just don't do it because they don't really understand it. So I would say, pick up the phone, have a chat with me or anyone at Baltic, and we'll happily kind of explain to you what all the whole scheme is about. Make sure you understand that there is going to be an element of hand-holding to start with. You know, these people don't have a lot of experience, so just make sure you're happy to do that. And my last one would probably be, focus on someone's personality and their potential over the skills they have right now, because we can teach you skills.
Good.
You know, we can teach that bit, but someone being motivated and passionate, we can't drill that into somebody.
No, definitely not. That it's all about attitude, isn't it? Attitude and mindset. Very,
Exactly.
very useful. Well, I have no doubt that they'll, even if there's one person that's listened to this, they will want to know more, because I do think that, ironically, even though we've obviously gone through, you know, a huge sort of recession and pandemic, actually the fight for talent is greater than ever. So I think this is opening up other avenues for our audience to consider. And if it helps young people, as a mum to two young people, might be future candidates for yourself. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been really useful and insightful, and we'll share all the links on our social media channels. Thank you for joining us today, Saania.
Amazing. Thank you.